Good afternoon, everybody, and a warm welcome to all of you to join our panel discussion on the topic of generative AI and large language models. Being a technologist at heart, I think this topic is very close to me to really look at how this technology is transforming our industry in an unprecedented way, from revolutionizing product designs to really elevating customer experiences. This technology has really come a long way. In fact, this is one of the fastest growing technology in humankind. So if I have to take some examples, if you look at the internet, probably the adoption took about 2 decades before it reached 100 million users. And more recent example, the smartphones probably took about 4 to 5 years before it reached 100 million people. And ChatGPT, which was launched end of 2022, probably took about only 2 months before it reached 100 million users, right? And what started as the basic of neural networks in 1940s was further built on in the 1980s by our Nobel Prize winners for physics, John Hopkins, and Geoffrey Hinton back in the 2012s when GPUs were discovered to be really path-breaking for generative AI, right? And then what resulted in 2017 as a research paper which said attention is all what you need, which then basically paved the way for transformer architectures, which has been the fundamental technology architecture behind generative AI models. To dive deep into this, I'd like to look at my fellow panelists to discuss more about this and to look at the impact of it. So maybe I start with you, Rajiv. What, according to you, from a technological impact perspective, would like to hear your view perspective on that one?
Sure. So Walmart is obviously in the retail business, right? And for us, essentially, the number of customers that we serve on a weekly basis is more than 240 million, right? So we are a very people-focused business, people from the consumer side, merchants, supply chain operators, and our other partners, which is our suppliers, sellers, etc. So in any business that's very content-heavy, where customers are making decisions based on the information they have about products, what generative AI provides us is the ability to transform the way in which we interact with our customers. Whether it's related to searching products online, getting to know more about those products, whether it is essentially getting into immersive technologies and using AI for that, interacting with our seller and supplier base, the ability of our merchants to kind of get insights which are much sharper, having them not to do these mundane tasks and then to focus on higher value activities. And then we have one of the largest gig workforces in the industry in terms of delivery. So again, engaging very closely with them, what Gen AI has done and some of the products we have released, and we'll talk about it later, is the ability to make our interactions extremely conversational, insightful, and transparent, allowing them to make the right decisions on our platform. So that's what Gen AI has been able to do for the retail industry in general and Walmart in particular.
No, I think that's really wonderful viewpoint, at least from a retail perspective. So maybe then I come to you, Kalyan. So more from Intuit and product perspective, what do you think from your viewpoint, how this impacted?
Yeah, I mean, at Intuit, again, we have seen that it's been a radical and transformative impact, and it's been end-to-end, right? Mm-hmm. Not just, so it's impacted our customer experience, it's in terms of the product functionality and automation and so on, but it's been end-to-end, right? In terms of how we build products and how we support products, so it's been end-to-end in that. In fact, Intuit CEO Sasan, he's fond of saying that, Gen AI, in terms of impact, has been as revolutionary as electricity was. It's going to change everything in major ways. So again, as Rajiv mentioned, I think our products, so we have, for example, AI-based assistants that help with conversation AI, chatbots. We have agentic AI that can transform workflows, can automate a number of things end-to-end. But beyond that, I mean, in terms of how we build products, right from, so our customers have seen improvements of anything from 50 to 80% in terms of their efficiency, speed, and various other metrics. And we have seen the same with our developer velocity, right? So we are able to deliver code much faster, much more accurate, and we migrate to, let's say, latest Java versions, that's automated. Our unit tests are largely automated. End-to-end testing is something we're focusing on. And beyond that, there are a number of things which require significant amount of automation, which are manual. So those kind of productivity improvements are something that we are seeing. And even once we go into production, again, Intuit has a huge scale. We do over 10 billion transactions a day, and at that scale, making sure we have 4 nines or above of availability and so on. So making sure that we have observability in place, debuggability in place, we have right alerting, we want to build AI ops. GenAI has been helping with all of that. And so right from customer experience to production, I think we are seeing a major impact. And this is anything from a 30 to 80% productivity improvement, customer satisfaction. And we measure all of these, right? Because unless you have data, it's just opinion. Right?
Absolutely. Great. I think we had the retail view, and we had the product view. Now we come to the backbone of travel. From your perspective, Karteek.
Okay, maybe good afternoon. Happy to be with all of you. So if we come back to the first point that Milesh, you mentioned about the era of GPT taking traction. I mean, we have seen the era of internet, smartphones, but then there has been some change because it took some time for such trends to engulf the mankind. However, the pace at which the generative AI is engulfing and then in fact impacting it in fact is acting as a force multiplier to the existing technologies also, which were evolving at a steady pace. For example, it could be edge computing or Internet of Things that we saw. So it is in fact catalyzing even the existing technologies. So we see the world, say, the way it's moving so far with the different corporates at this point of time. So after the initial infatuation period about all the bots and conversations, the urge to test models, so and then how deep you can go with the tokens, what's the context that you can preserve. We see the trends in two directions, one after the other. First, going from model-centric towards more and more data-centric. Every organization has been realizing that data is the lifeblood for any artificial intelligence. I mean, data has been existing. In fact, AI needs data more than the other way around. So enriching your own knowledge bases and all the more opening up your IT systems to be able to interoperate and open up for public data sharing, thereby enhancing the data gravity is the direction we see on the first trend. So that means for corporates to be more and more data-centric. Now, continuing on that, what generative AI has pushed each of our industry, whether you are in healthcare seeing your end customer as a patient, or in education seeing your students, or in engineering you're seeing developer. In our case, we are seeing traveler. Generative AI has pushed us to understand our own end users more and more better. Yeah. So this means go more and more human-centric, construct a more persona, a 360 view of your persona, and understand their behavior, understand their sentiments, and then go more and more centric around that. So the North Star for most of the global GCCs that we see is going from model-centric to data-centric to human centricity.
No, absolutely. I think these are really very pertinent viewpoints. I mean, the world is evolving. There's also an interesting study that says by 2025, 90% of all customer front-ended interactions will be by an AI system behind, right? And all three of you, what you reflected, just reflects that. Now, coming more back into, let's say, the practical applications of it, because out there still, the technology is quite expensive to implement and to really operate it. And then the use cases that it drives, it goes back on a circle. Are there really valid use cases that can really be, from a commercial perspective, operatable, right? So probably I would start my second question with you, Karteek, directly. If you can name some of the practical applications where it's been very successful and also commercially viable, I think that would really help our audiences here.
Definitely. So I come from Amadeus. Amadeus is say, the pivotal keystone in the travel technology space. we process about 100,000 transactions every second, and with say a billion of data-driven decisions each day. So the travel ecosystem is quite fragmented. The information is fragmented. It is disparate, not very well connected. So the technology players like Amadeus is now have all the more opportunity to play a key role, where we are trying to understand the life cycle of the traveler journey. That's right from the stage you dream about a trip,
Correct,
to you search, you shop, you book, you plan, and then you close your trip. So how do you imagine the travelers? Today, travel recommender systems are extremely complex in a way that every traveler, before an actual booking is done, hops between like tens of websites. There's almost like 60 to 70% of shopping cart abandonment. That means you keep searching, but then the order fulfillment is so less. So a wanderlust and volatile behavior of the travelers is one of the key challenges that we are trying to address. We are trying to address that with conversational platforms, inspirational landing pages. That means because the power of generative AI is in original content creation. Correct. That is what differentiates it. So a less discovered destination that can help in reducing the crowd density and then the over-tourism problem. Such challenges we are trying to address through the travel about. So basically a digital travel companion for your end-to-end life cycle of a traveler. This is how we are approaching the Gen AI space.
And thereby the economic value is direct, because you don't need front-ending agents to attend to these problems, and then you kind of automate that, right? So that's really a great example. Coming back to you, Kalyan. So what do you think are the practical applications from the product side of it, right? Are you using those models as is, or you're fine-tuning them, or thinking about your own foundation models? I think it will really help us, if you could share some insights around that one.
Sure. Yeah. So one of the things we decided to do at Intuit was realizing that this is an industry that is rapidly changing and evolving, and we need to have a platform and product approach that can keep pace with evolution and is insulated from those changes. So one of the things we did was come up with a Gen OS, or a generative AI OS, which was essentially a layer that would talk to different LLMs. We had our own proprietary LLM, but we also work with the popular open source and the commercial ones from OpenAI, Google, and so on. And then not only that, there is this layer also provides the inferencing and making sure the hallucinations are minimized, the responses are more grounded, and all of the other safeguards and guardrails in place. So, and then the platform has also been evolving, making sure that, and that's what the products are built on. And so we've had some very interesting applications, right? Within so whether it is for tax preparation or personal or business finance, making sure it's personalized. And then a lot of these interactions involve complex workflows, right? I mean, right from tax preparation, filing, getting the refund, or using payment gateways and orchestrating through all of that. That's something that we have done. But given that it's still evolving, there's still quite often a man in the middle. So someone would need to validate it, but it still automates a lot of things. So if I need to do my tax returns, it can populate most of the details based on social media, based on internet search, based on anything else I personalize. So all of those capabilities have been there. And going on more on the product development side as well, and the platforms, there again, as I said, and I think we are constrained by the imagination, right? And I would suggest not to do that, right? Just to give an example, right? Beyond code generation, migration, all of those things, or unit testing, end-to-end testing, we, for example, needed to migrate from a legacy tool to an open source. And the problem was that we had something like 120K queries. And how do you migrate those? And these are not simple. So it's not like in one step you can do it with an LLM. So we used LangChain and orchestration. And essentially, it was completely automated. Because even if there's one manual step or verification, you cannot do it, or it take many man years, right? Essentially. So that's an example of what worked for us.
No, I think what I got from that is it's interesting that you have a generative AI operating system, which is an orchestration layer because most of us, we just don't believe or trust on just one LLM. We want to have the multimodal capabilities. The best of the breed vendors are out there, so we want an orchestration layer to build on it. And the other thing which I really liked about what you said is person in the middle. I think that's an important part of responsible AI, that you also want to have a human in the loop, right, before the insights of that reach the users. Now, coming to you, Rajiv, from a Walmart perspective, I think you already talked about retail, right? And I believe there is humans practical application because it's more of consumerism, and that's where the heart of where this technology can power. Maybe if you can talk about some of the practical applications, what you've seen already working, and maybe also some elements of what's not working, right? So that would be interesting.
So, so some of the things we've done on the consumer experience and the conversion funnel side is completely transformed our search experience for our customers. We've made it extremely conversational, right? And we've not made it one size fits all. So for example, if there is a very specific query or a very specific reason why somebody's on our platform, like they want to buy a particular mobile phone, then you still continue to use the traditional methods that you use in search and surface the results. But then customers also come to us for particular missions, just like Karteek talked about on travel, even on the retail world. Say somebody comes to us and says they want to buy items for a cricket watch party, right? So there you actually need to go across multiple categories of merchandise, bring all of that up, and just go very deep into the data that we have and we understand. So it's our proprietary data. Some of it is proprietary third-party models, some are open source models, and some are our own foundational models. Combination of all of that, and then you essentially are looking at serving up these results where the customer does not need to do multiple searches, right? So that's one very clear example where the experience has transformed. The basket sizes have gone up. The customer convenience and the cognitive load on the customer has gone down significantly. A couple of other examples is essentially our ability to hyper-personalize. So we've just released our content decision system. So the ability to kind of generate content by customer cohorts and even individual customers right through our homepage, and then the entire experience funnel has been transformed using generative AI. And then as for high involvement categories on the product detail page or the item detail page, the ability to kind of look at brand provided data, consumer generated content, content provided by other entities, right? And to be able to essentially bring it all together for the customer so that they can make those decisions are some of the other things we've launched and have they are running very successfully. Like everybody else talked about, we have a responsible AI pledge, yes, right? Where we essentially look at a few things of around transparency, security, privacy. Yeah. So while we have data, we make sure that it stays very secure and private. There is accountability and customer centricity, right? So there are 6 tenets on which we play and make sure anything that we are building is very, very responsible and provides value to the customer. So those are some of the applications we've built out. And again, this is powered by our own ML platform called Element, which allows us to operate across multiple cloud vendors, doesn't get us to lock in, makes the life of a data scientist and a ML engineer very easy because it takes the drudgery out of deployment and ML operations.
No, I think you talked about not just the consumerism part of it, but also about responsible AI. So if we look at within SAP, we call this as business AI because we promise 3 business grade qualities, which is relevant, responsible, and reliable. In fact, we have even taken up a goal that 80% of our most used transactions would be automated by end of this year. So that's really the power of that. I think we have time for just one last question, but maybe one sentence from each one of you. Maybe I start with you, Kalyan. In one sentence, if you could say, the most asked question, are AI going to take the jobs away from a lot of people, or is it going to take over the world and our lives? What's your viewpoint on that one?
Yeah, again, going by history, I think whenever we've had something revolutionary, it's I think made life better. I don't think people have lost jobs, and as you know, as is often said, I think people who know generative AI will take away jobs from those who don't. So I think it's important, and one of the things we have done in Intuit is it's not just an AI team who are specialized.
Okay.
Everybody needs to have a good knowledge of Gen AI and incorporate in what they do.
Got it.
That will make all of us productive.
Thank you. Rajiv, to you.
So we are a people-led tech-powered company. So for us, generative AI essentially means amplifying what humans can do, right? So take cognitive load away from them and amplify the outcomes that they can give. So that's how we look at Gen AI.
Thank you. And you, Karteek.
So, as a pragmatic futurist, we see any technology is there to help human, and in our case, the traveler, easing the choice overload, the stress of choice that people have today, with more and more personalized and scalable travel solutions. So we see it as a major boon, and we are fortunate to be in this era where we are seeing multiple technological revolutions in 20 years.
And thank you all. I think it was a wonderful conversation. I would just want to leave this with a note that a study suggests, I think I talked about it, that the economic value added by generative AI alone would be about $4 trillion and upwards. And this technology is here to stay, and it's going to really revolutionize and transform the way we work and we operate our business. Thank you so much to my fellow panelists, and thank you, everyone. Yeah.